Hello and welcome back to SpriteGuard Plays HyperRogue. Today I am noticing a pretty big difference that I don't think was here the last time. We now have the icons instead of letters, which makes it a lot clearer what things we have killed and what things we have not killed. And we have the treasures over here also displayed graphically, which I think is really cool. Now, I think that this is the first time it's happened. It seems like the sort of thing I would notice, but when I went back and looked at some of my older videos, I realized that the glow effect was actually in a video before I noticed it. So that's my legendary observational skills once again. And so I don't know, but it seems like a big enough thing that I would have noticed it, because I noticed it instantly as soon as I opened this up. Now, we have been on a really excellent adventure. This has been a long run. We haven't gotten a ton of different treasures. I'm noticing our score is only 120, and it looks like we don't have any necromancer totems, so I think the time has come to perhaps say goodbye to this run. Let's see, Orb of Nature. Oh, now we haven't looked at the Orb of Domination yet. That's a fun orb to play with. There's also, you know, we could go for an Orb of Time, that's pretty hard to get. And I'm thinking about, you know, do I want to do that in this run? Do I want to do it in a different run? Because I found some things out about kind of the systems underlying the game that make me want to, you know, have some time between runs to experiment. But I don't know if I want that to be this week or if I want to keep going, just because this has been such a strong run. And I feel like there's so much more for us to play with that I actually think it would be good to go ahead and try to get the Orb of Time and start playing around with orbs. I feel like that's been a big running theme in this series, and I think it's something worth continuing. So we're going to wait for the ocean here. We're going to first check the overview and make sure that the Caribbean is unlocked, and I can never remember how these are ordered, but should be able to find it in not too long. We do have... the Caribbean is not unlocked. What do we need? It doesn't say. Maybe we just need to go out to the ocean for it to be accessible. So I'm going to wait for the tide to come in. I don't know what how the Orb of Nature... I would assume that the water breaks the ivy, so that's not particularly useful. But we're going to follow this out. We're going to look for a boat, and we're going to try and find the Caribbean. And try and figure out, like, what's going on, you know, what do we need to unlock it? Because I thought it was just, like, maybe 30 treasures? Let's see, this is very near to the edge, so we can just wait here. And head out into the ocean. Now we can check the overview again. And now it is unlocked, so that's all we had to do. Let's see, that is a living fjord. That's a warped coast. Columns in the ocean. Interesting. So is that how Relia is signified now? I'm very curious about this. Let's see, 38 turns to surface. We've got quite a lot of pirates and stuff after us. Looks like this pirate actually has an Orb of Nature, so we can see, you know... Oh, hey! And we can move around on it. Well, almost. Not quite. So that's pretty cool. So we can't move... Oh no! Oh ho! Okay, so we can use the ranged power. But the ivy breaks as soon as we step onto it, so that was very nearly game over. This is really cool. So that is now how you can find Relia from a distance. That's very nice. So I guess we're going to check this out. Orb of Teleport is very useful. And I was trying to see if I could trap it there. It's not working out, which I'm not that surprised by. The tentacle can just eat the vines, and there's no problem. Someone had made a comment on one of my videos about using the Orb of Nature against rock snakes, and I was a little bit uncertain about whether or not that would work. It's not something I'm going to write off, but it seems to me like they can just eat the vines. So it's not something that seems really obviously useful to me. There might be a way of using it that I'm just not thinking of. That is a very common occurrence. And let's see, Relia does take a little bit more thought than I sometimes give it credit. I kind of think of it as an easy land. I would compare it to the desert in difficulty. Now, if we can get 25 of these treasures, that would be really useful because the Orb of Teleport is so valuable. And so I'm thinking, is the Crossroads good enough? Or do we want to, take the plunge? I believe once we have 10 treasures from here, it can spawn near land. That's my memory. I could be wrong about that. Let's see. Well, let's keep going. If this ends it, well, I had mentioned feeling like it was, appropriate at least to think about wrapping up this series. But I do want to, really give it a good try to keep going. And so I'm not going to try and get myself killed, but I am going to, really take some risks and try and get those 25 treasures for the Orb of Teleport. And I believe that will also increase its spawn rate in the Crossroads, which would also be pretty useful. Now, I think, let's see, I don't want to go for this one over here, because it is just too close to that tentacle, too much going on. I kind of want to sort myself out a little bit. We have kind of a lot of combat coming up without a ton of ways of dealing with it. Oh dear. Okay, that was a little riskier than it should have been. I should probably be moving a little bit more slowly than I am. And thinking a little bit harder about where I'm going, because this is not an easy land. This is not a free land. This is a land where I do need to be careful. We can use that. So we're right here by a crossroads. Now, treasures will not spawn near the crossroads. So now we're faced once again with the choice of, do we press on? Or do we head back to safety? And I'm saying press on. Continue to take those risks. 22, we're so close. 23. Not going to go for that one. There won't be anything spawning close to these borders, so we want to get away from those. Let's see, this fire cultist is 1, 2, 3, 4 steps away. So on his next turn, after he steps toward us, he's going to throw fire. But we can deal with those two guys before that happens. We got these guys coming from every direction, though. No fire cultists right now, though, so we can fight off a little bit. Try and kind of pare them down. We only need one more treasure. It's always good to pay attention because, you know, you can use the columns to protect yourself, to kind of funnel the enemies. So there is our 25th treasure. Let's see if we can get out of here alive. There's a border. What is it with? The hive? I'm okay with that. There we go. So now we're in the hive. The hive is not particularly dangerous when we don't have any treasures, and so we can just kind of use it as an area to cross and try and avoid nests. We don't really have that much use. I mean, the orb from this land is useful, but it's not something that I feel like is, you know, really worth pursuing. My main goal right now is just to find my way back out to the ocean. And so we're going to be looking for the easiest exit we can find. And, you know, this is a little bit of an opportunity to relax. And, you know, we're just basically, you know, this I call it this game's equivalent of grinding. Just walking along, waiting until I notice something that I want. What was that? Let's see, that's a dragon chasm, that's a mirrored land. We do not have mirror shards. So that land is not too dangerous, and it feels like there's a little bit more opportunity in this land. I feel like other lands spawn a little bit more commonly. And the orb for this land is certainly not that useful, as well as for the for Hell, which we passed over there. So I don't actually want to grab... Aha! Okay, so eagles do spawn even when you don't have treasure. That was something I didn't remember. So it looks like we're in a little bit more danger than I thought we were. But I'm still not too concerned. And as I thought, the spawn rate does seem quite a bit higher here than in the hive, the land spawn rate. And we can use orbs of safety to get away from stuff. And just have to keep paying attention. It's been one of those kind of frustrating days where it feels like I'm not able to pay attention to anything. And so, you know, it's actually pretty late at this point. So now we have the Orb of Teleport available to us. And that is an incredibly good source of safety. Oh dear. So now we have these guys after us. We can't outrun them in the crossroads because they only spawn on, or they only grow onto hexagons, which slows them down. But we are looking for an ocean. And it looks like we're going to have to wait for the tide to come in, which means wasting a lot of charges on our teleport, which is disappointing. But if we check the overview, let's see, Relia, Statue of Cthulhu, Orb of Teleport, Hubland 100%. So there we go. And so we could actually potentially find one by going along the edge here and hoping it kind of coincides with the tide a little better, but I think that that's probably not the most useful thing to do. And it looks like we're right near the edge now. I always want to grab a boat as close to the edge as I can so we don't have to wait very long. But that's always a little bit more risk. So now we're out here, we can look for the Caribbean again. And it feels like this might end up being a bit of a longer episode. And so, you know, I do want to keep that in check. I do want to keep these of a reasonable length. And so if we see an orb of safety in one of the boats here, as someone pointed out to me, there's a lot more coast than there is interior, even though the interior is infinite, because you get weird stuff like that. So if we look along the coast, that's where orbs will spawn. Though they certainly are not doing so. Now the orb of safety, I only have 25, and so its spawn rate is going to be a bit lower in the guest lands, but so far I'm not seeing anything, and so I'm wondering, you know, do we need to take the plunge? Do we need to go in and start looking for that orb of time? I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that. I feel like I usually do see more orbs than this in the Caribbean. But... ah, there we go. There's an orb of safety. There we go. So, in the next episode, we are going to explore the Caribbean and try and get that orb of time. That is the orb for this land, right? Let's see, Caribbean Pirate Treasure Time. Yes, okay. And that will really unlock our ability to use other orbs. And so here again, we're going to take a little bit of a risk, and we're going to go for 25 treasures. And once we've done that, we will be heading back into the crossroads. Tricosahedron suggested in a forum post that unlocking Camelot would be really useful, because that makes it... And I believe Fulgur had also told me this, is that you can go alongside the edge of Camelot, and there will be no monsters coming out of Camelot, and so you can kind of limit how much traffic you have to deal with. And so when you're grinding for orbs, that's a good way. And Tricosahedron even, I think it was Tricosahedron, even posted about how you can use, and if this was somebody else, please correct me, you can use the Orb of Teleport to reduce the amount of traveling you do in order to reduce the amount of Orb of Time that you use up. So there's all sorts of tricks that we can get into once we have the Orb of Time unlocked. So that is all coming up in the future. I don't know if we're going to manage to do all of it, but we're going to give it a shot. It's going to require taking a lot of big risks that I don't normally take. And so until then, thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.